Okay, where were we? Ah, yes. Getting close to the halfway point. Chapter 10. Got my juice. I got the chapter. Let's go. Okay, let's go. Chapter 10. The blue check. That's not a good start. Chapter 10. The blue check mark sat on the screen in front of Nick. It was next to his channel name and had only been there for less than an hour. His plaque for reaching the same goal, 100,000 subscribers, would be coming in the mail soon as well. Of course, his subscriber count had far surpassed that number over the past week. Tripled, in fact. His stunt at the library and Jason's subsequent call for people to subscribe had seen to that. The bruises were still there from the frozen paintballs, hidden under his clothes. They hurt when touched, but he knew they were worth it. A few people in the comments had tried to make fun of his vomiting incident, but they were swiftly cut down by Nick's loyal subscribers. He felt thankful for that, because he didn't know how he would have dealt with it himself. After the paintball incident, Nick made a commentary video reacting to Jason's video. This was his first video to ever hit the trending page. It hovered around 9th place for 8 hours. At the same time, Jason's video climbed to first. Now the video sat just over 6 million views, his subscriber count jumping by thousands every hour. At the same time, his inbox on every social media platform was filled with fans, to the point of being unreadable. The glint from the blue checkmark shined in Nick's iris as he closed the page. He shut off the screen, then went to the bathroom to check himself one last time. His button-down shirt was in place, along with his hair. His teeth were brushed and cologne was on. He felt ready for the party. Teddy sat on the couch, waiting impatiently for them to go. "We're late," he complained. "Fashionably," said Nick, knowing they would still be one of the first ones there. Walking over to Jason's, Teddy kept making them speed up, as though the few seconds they would save were important. The fountain in the driveway was lit up with LEDs, creating a beautiful cascade of colors. Nick felt the urge to stop and watch for a bit, but Teddy kept them moving. When they reached the front door, 2 men were standing nearby in tuxedos. They greeted Nick and Teddy formally, then walked to the driveway to intercept a car pulling up. As the car stopped and their occupants climbed out, one of the men got in and drove the car away to be parked. Teddy and Nick watched this for a moment, then continued inside. Okay. "Nick all the way," someone shouted as they came through the front door. There was a crowd of people in the party room, all in dress clothes. It reminded Nick of a wedding. He tried to see who had shouted, but the voice was lost in the crowd. People began coming up to them, most just to say hi, but a few asked to do collaborations. Nick did his best to acknowledge everyone and respond as he made his way over to Jason. Jason put his hand on Nick's shoulder, then said, "I think you're more popular than me tonight." "Yeah, right," Nick replied. As he watched, Jason's eyes slid to the front of the room. His hand dropped as his smile faded. "Why would she bring him?" he said. Nick followed his gaze and spotted Daisy and Tom coming down the main hallway. Tom's muscles bulged against the suit he wore, making Daisy look all the more petite in her white dress. Jason began to move, crossing the floor to meet them halfway. Nick struggled to keep up. "Jason Cross," said Jason, reaching his hand out toward Tom's chest. Tom eyed the hand for a moment before shaking it. "You must be Tom," Jason went on. "It's nice to meet you, bro. Welcome to my place." "It's very beautiful," said Daisy. "Yes," Tom agreed. "A little over the top for me, but I get the appeal. Nick, how are you?" "Good," said Nick, shaking Tom's hand. "Did you see the fountain?" Jason asked. "I just had the lights installed yesterday." "They're beautiful," Daisy exclaimed. "Did you use stick-on LEDs?" Tom asked. "I thought about using those in my studio." Jason laughed. "Nothing like that. I paid $5,000 to have lights hardwired in." Tom mused. "I bet you could have easily saved $3,000 by putting them in yourself." "Perhaps. Were I someone hurting for money?" Jason retorted. "Either way, it looks pretty fancy," said Nick. "Yes. Now, does anyone need a drink?" "That's fully stocked." Jason gestured towards the bar on the right wall of the room. "I paid bartenders to come in for the party. Make sure and tip." Daisy latched on to Tom's arm with both hands. "Let's get fancy. See if they'll make us some martinis." Tom rolled his eyes. "I'm gonna get a beer. Nick, you want one?" Jason shifted uncomfortably. His eyes locked on Daisy, clinging to Tom's arms. He looked upset. "Sure," said Nick, wondering why he was acting so weird. "I don't like minors drinking in my house," said Jason, then paused as Daisy let go of Tom's arm. "But I suppose I can bend the rules for my neighbor." With that cleared up, Tom headed for the bar, and Nick observed more people filling into the room. It was growing crowded. "You look beautiful tonight," said Jason. Daisy curtsied. "Why, thank you, kind sir. You look quite dashing yourself." Jason's shining smile returned. Then, and he responded to her curtsy with an exaggerated bow. "How have you been?" he asked, growing serious. Nick let his attention slide to Tom and the bartender, already shaking up Daisy's martini. He didn't want him to come back, didn't want to hear his backhanded compliments as Jason and he tried to one-up each other. Daisy let out a bellyful laugh, drawing his attention back. "Stop," she said, giving Jason a blithe slap on the chest. "I'm serious," Jason said, laughing along with Daisy. "One word and he's gone." "You leave my poor husband alone," said Daisy, though her look appeared anything but serious. "Easy," said Nick. "He's only right there." Daisy brushed him off, saying, "You give him too much credit." Nick felt thankful for all the noise in the room, as it didn't allow Tom to hear the conversation happening only 20 feet away. He was sure it would only anger him. At the bar, Tom tipped the bartender, then palmed all 3 drinks. "What's so funny?" he asked when he got to them. "Oh, it's nothing," said Daisy. "Jason just doesn't know how to tell a joke." "Is that so? Well, let's hear it," asked Tom. When Jason didn't respond, Tom insisted. "Don't be shy, come on." "Ah," Jason said. "It really wasn't a good one." He reached out, seeming to pluck a passerby at random. "Felix, you've met Nick before, but these are his cousins, Tom and Daisy." Felix, a tall and lanky guy, looked surprised to suddenly be part of their group. "Nice to meet you," he said. "I remember you're doing a series of interviews with famous YouTubers," Jason went on. "Well, Tom here has almost 6 million subscribers." "Oh," said Felix. "Only 21,000 to go," said Tom, brightening. Jason pointed at him. I suggest you guys do an interview right now. That's not necessary, said Tom. We just came here for the party. Nonsense, said Jason. You can use one of my spare rooms and get it done in 10 minutes. Imagine the new subscribers you could reach. That's why I'm here, said Felix. I've already done one interview. I was hoping to ask Nick soon. Oh, said Nick. Sure, I can do one. Okay, I'll do it, Tom cut in. If that's all right with you, of course, he said to Daisy. Oh, yeah, I think it's a good idea, she replied, though she kept glancing at Jason as though she knew he was up to something. Awesome, said Felix. I know Jason said we could use the room, but I already set up my equipment in front of the fountain. That's fine too, said Jason. I'll see you guys here back in a few minutes. Felix soon led the way with Tom trailing behind. There, said Jason. I'm having more fun already. You're bad, said Daisy. Nick watched Tom's back as he walked away. You seem eager to get rid of him. Perhaps, said Jason. Or maybe I think he needs help growing his channel. A kind bit of charity. Please, his ego's big enough, said Daisy. Nick smiled. You got me there. He jumped as Jason smacked him on the back. Nick, hold down the fort. He then held out his arm for Daisy to take. Let me give you the tour. The fort? Asked Nick, but they were already sauntering away. With Tom already out the door and Daisy and Jason disappearing into the crowd, Nick could only sip his drink and wonder. Things were growing increasingly suspicious. At some point, their actions would cross the line. Perhaps that moment had already passed. Seeing him alone gave people more courage to come up and talk. They came in groups of 2 and 3, starting conversations. They asked about his YouTube channel, what atmosphere it created, and what videos he was making. Nick did his best to respond, though his thoughts were wrapped up in where his cousin and Jason were. As the crowd around him built, he wondered how much longer until Tom came back. What would he say when Tom asked where his wife had gone? Want to go for a walk? The voice drew Nick back into his inattentive conversation with the crowd. It was Jordan. Nick searched her out, finding her standing to his left in a group of 7 people. Had she just walked up or been listening for a while? Sure, he said, drawing away from the crowd with her. How have you been? I read your article. Nice work. She smiled, though her eyes darted around suspiciously. Can we maybe go somewhere a little more private? Nick consented, and they began making their way toward the front door. I've been good, Jordan said finally, as they both turned towards the stairs. I was hoping you would like the article. I owed you that much. Nick laughed. As long as you remember that. He felt her punch him in the arm, light enough that it didn't hurt. Nick still made a show of rubbing the wound. There were a few other people on the balcony that circled the room below. Most worked camera rigs to film the party, but a few were using the secluded area to converse. Nick and Jordan slipped past them to find a private spot near the large window that overlooked the backyard. From there, Nick could see the rows of gardens and trees lit by the shimmering blue glow of the pool. Listen, said Jordan, sounding more urgent than she had before. The paper wants me to write an article that makes Jason look bad. Nick swung around from watching the scenery. Why would they want to do that? They need to sell papers, said Jordan. Drama sells, and some people think Jason's channel is scandalous. Did you know it's a new trend to shoot people with frozen paintballs? That all started from the video of you. Why would that bother anyone? Asked Nick. It's not exactly a peaceful act. What if Jason made a video doing something even more dangerous and that started trending? People would get hurt or worse, Jordan shrugged. He also has the power to tell people to go vote for unspoken politicians. Getting more people to go vote isn't a bad thing. Besides, he's never done that, said Nick. I'm just speculating, retorted Jordan. My point is that they're trying to get me to trash Jason, and I don't know what to do. Don't write the articles, said Nick. Jordan flinched as though she were in pain. It's my job, Nick. I don't have that option. Okay, I understand, but you always have an option. Is there nothing you can do? Jordan shook her head. I can stall, push the article off until they start threatening to fire me. Nick leaned against the railing and watched the crowd below. Damn, he said, unable to come up with any better plan. Down below, everyone was up to their usual games. It looked a lot like a normal party, except for the sporadic moments of people acting out to get on camera. Teddy stood on a couch, throwing pillows at unsuspecting bystanders. The bystanders reacted in confusion, laughing it off only after they spotted the cameras. Can you quit and go to another paper? Asked Nick. I've been working to get where I am for years, said Jordan. I can't just throw that away. Nick pictured Jason reading the article. How would he react to the betrayal? Jordan would most definitely be banned. Doesn't your boss know you'd be burning all your contacts? He asked. That's the first thing I told him. That's the first thing I told them, she said. They think this article is more important. Movement outside caught Nick's attention. Two figures were standing at the top of the steps leading to the pool. Two familiar figures. Jason and Daisy were standing close together as they observed the property. Their hands were laced. Nick nearly choked on his drink. If Jordan wanted to find content for her slanderous article, she need look no further than out the window behind her. She began to turn to see what he stared at. That's such a distressing situation, he blurted, demanding her attention. Tell me about it, she said, refocusing on him. I'm losing sleep. Nick struggled to keep his eyes focused on her and not let them dart to the couple below. Put it off for as long as you can, he said, trying to think of a way to get them away from the window. I think you're trapped. I know, she said, and came forward to lean on the railing. Nick felt thankful for the movement as it brought her one step further away from the window. The distraction might have been enough for the moment to pass, except Jason and Daisy continued to loiter with their hands locked together. He was watching his own fears beginning to manifest. If they're holding hands like that, what other lines might they be willing to cross? Nick wanted to turn the flashlight on for his phone, to wave it in front of the window so they would notice that anyone could see them. Unfortunately, that would draw Jordan's attention as well. They're having so much fun, said Jordan as she leaned over the railing. Why does it have to be me? Nick turned to see the party. I doubt one article's going to ruin their time. Jordan stiffened, and a moment later he heard Tom's voice. Hey, Nick, have you seen Daisy? I've been looking everywhere for her. Nick subconsciously glanced out the window in time to see Jason pull Daisy around to face him. Don't do it, he thought. Jason moved in slow, and a moment later their lips met. She fell into him, squeezing tight. Nick felt shocked. He wanted to pound on the window to tell them how out of line they were. "Nick?" Tom pressed. Nick felt his heart murmur, then triple in speed as it began shooting adrenaline through his veins. "I haven't seen her," said Nick, feeling out of breath. Tom paused as he got close. "Do I know you?" he asked Jordan. Jordan's eyes were slightly wider than normal as she said, "I don't think so." "I swear you look familiar," Tom went on. Nick glanced over his shoulder at the passionate couple below. It might have only been seconds, but their kiss seemed to stretch on indefinitely. It seemed insane, the brashness of it. Nick had no idea how things could get out of control so fast, had no idea how he should react. "I've never met you," said Jordan. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go see what's going on below. Good talking to you, Nick." As she began walking away, Tom's gaze followed her. Nick felt thankful. Anything in a different direction from the window was good. "What's her problem?" Tom asked. He began turning back towards Nick, so Nick slipped past him. The ploy worked, and Tom stopped turning. "I think I saw Daisy heading for the fountain, looking for you," Nick lied. He risked another glance out the window and found that Jason and Daisy's lips had finally parted. Their hands were still locked, however. "Of course she did," said Tom, shaking his head. "I bet we've been walking in circles around each other for 10 minutes now." Nick shrugged. He realized that he'd better help direct Tom's search, lest he actually find Daisy. The first place they went was the fountain, where Nick did an entire lap around it to... The first place they went was to the fountain, where Nick did an entire lap around to stall for time. He then tried to start a conversation about the lights, of which Tom would not comply. Back inside, Jason and Daisy finally showed up in the party room. Nick flinched at the sight of them, then relaxed as he saw they were no longer holding hands. "Daisy," Tom called. "There you are," she said. Nick watched her expression carefully, but she showed no sign of shock or discomfort. Jason, on the other hand, had a big smile on his face. He bowed slightly. "I'm afraid I have to gather footage for next week's video. Enjoy yourselves." As he walked away, Tom leaned towards Nick and said, "I don't like that guy." "Oh, stop," said Daisy, before Nick could respond. "There's something off about him," Tom continued. "He's fake and does everything for attention." Daisy scoffed. "You just met him." "I have a good judge of character. I'm telling you, there's something wrong with that man." "I hope you're wrong," said Nick, half to himself. When Tom spoke, his voice sounded grave. "I'm never wrong." This made Daisy tap her foot. She crossed her arms, and Nick could see her beginning to grow irritated. He thought about her secret kiss out back, the passion between her and Jason. It was all his fault, the fruit of his facilitating their meeting. He realized at that moment Tom was going to murder him before this was all over. Shink. That is chapter 10. Getting spicy. Bunch of cheaters out there. This can't be good. What's going to happen next?